Hey everybody, I'm back. I said I'd be back after my stroke, and I am. Today I want to talk with you, but I don't like to just sit in front of the camera and talk because I think that's boring. So I'm going to bake a chocolate cake. This cake has been in our family for decades. It's like the premier cake I always make for birthdays or whatnot. Anyway, I'm making it for my husband's birthday, and I thought I would talk to you about my stroke and about certain things while I make the cake. I will not be talking about the cake, but the recipe for the cake will be linked in the description box. But I just want to talk to you about the stroke and what's happened since then. On April 5th, I had a stroke, and it was minor, they told me, and it wasn't really a big deal at the time. I began to slur my words, and my side was very weak, and I couldn't stand up and walk. So they took me to the ER, and by the time we got there, I was all better. So they weren't satisfied with something they saw on a CAT scan, so they sent me to the hospital. And I was fine. I could talk, I could walk. I was a little bit lean to the left, but I wasn't having any major problems at all. But they continued to keep me there because they wanted to make sure my blood pressure was stabilized. It was going up and down, and it wasn't stable. So I stayed in the hospital, and on Tuesday night, in the middle of the night in the hospital, I had gone there on a Sunday. So I had already been in the hospital for 2 nights. So on Tuesday night, I had a spell. I woke up freezing cold, and I couldn't talk. I couldn't talk well. And I thought it was just because I was shivering, because I was very, very cold. So I called the nurse, and they came in and then, "What's your problem?" And I told them I was cold and I could barely talk because I was shivering so bad. So they checked the thermostat in my room, and it was set at 55. And I said, "Well, please turn that up because that's too cold." It woke me up, and I was having trouble saying this. And they really, at that point, the night nurse got all up in my face, told me I had brought this on myself, and if I didn't settle down, she was going to sedate me. So that scared me. I was alone. My husband was not allowed to come in with me at any time, no time at all. The whole time I was in the hospital, I was basically alone. They came in to take my vitals every 4 hours, but that was all. No one came in and talked to me. The doctors would do a quick 5-minute in and out, and so they kept my door shut. So I was alone in this room for 3.5 days with the door shut. And it was very, very difficult. But then on Tuesday night, like I said, I couldn't talk. Well, they had talked about sending me home on Wednesday. So I basically just pretended I was fine. I pretended that I could talk. Well, I didn't pretend I could talk. I pretended that I couldn't talk because of my shivering. I didn't let on that it was something wrong with me. But I did notice that I was having a little more trouble walking, and that my right arm was very, very weak. And that proved to be a problem once I got home. But I kind of, honestly, it's terrible to say this, but I kind of faked it. I just told him I'm fine because that nurse scared me so bad with her threats that I just wanted to go home. I thought, they're ignoring me in here. I can do better at home. So I went home that day on Wednesday, and I really was having a terrible time walking. I could barely talk. I was talking very, very slow. It was very laborious to talk, but I was determined to be home. And so I was glad I went home when I did. Being in the hospital was an extremely bad experience, and I had no qualms about leaving whatsoever. So they sent me to a speech therapist. Well, that proved to be a disaster. I needed help with my speech. I needed help with swallowing. I was having trouble swallowing. Apparently the stroke weakened the entire right side of my body, as if you take a line down the middle of my body from top to bottom, and the right side was weakened. Now I could use it, but it was very, very, very weak. And so that was a problem. Anyway, so the speech therapist, they didn't help me much at all. The girl was dressed like I don't know, she was wearing a hazmat suit and everything else because of COVID. She couldn't wait to get me out of there. So she offered me zero help whatsoever. So I went on YouTube and I found someone who does speech therapy, and they helped me tremendously. I'm going to link that below, because if anyone is having any problem or a loved one is having a problem and they need speech therapy, this person helped me the most. So I was very happy. But the day after I came home, I started physical therapy. And I found Movement Solutions of North Carolina with Leon and Carrie Knight. And I'm telling you, they were fantastic. I will link them below. They brought me back. And I saw them 3 times a week in the beginning, and then I went down to twice a week and then once a week. And I was really sad when I was all done with physical therapy, because I enjoyed my time there so much with them, because they gave me confidence. That made me feel like I can do this, I can do this. And even on my days when I didn't go to physical therapy, I felt like, yes, Leon and Carrie said that I could do this, so I can do it. And it gave me so much confidence that I came back with what they said was in record time. So I was very pleased with that. And it was a very focused thing I did. I very focused in coming back. I was very just thinking about that all the time, constantly, all day long, every day, working on the exercises they gave me, working on talking. When no one was home, which was quite frequently, I would go through and just read all the titles of my books that were on a shelf out loud, because talking was what gave me back my voice. I had to practice talking. So I would practice my handwriting. I would practice talking. I would try to sing. I couldn't sing at all. I can now, but I couldn't sing in the beginning. So it was a very difficult recovery, but I was determined to make it right. So I did. And I'm much better. I would say now I'm 98% healed, but I have a few balance issues. Sometimes if I turn around too fast, I almost fall over. I didn't fall over yet, but every once in a while, I feel a little bit unbalanced. So, but as you can see here in this video, I'm doing just fine. I'm doing this cake, I'm cleaning up, I'm baking and everything just fine. So obviously I got my movement back. That has not been an easy process at all, but I'm very pleased that I did. Now, another thing I noticed when I got better is my priorities have changed. I didn't change them like, oh, I wake up because I had bad priorities and needed to get them straight. No, not at all. I always felt like my priorities were in line with what they needed to be. Obviously, everybody needs some improvement sometimes. I'm not saying I was perfect, but I didn't feel any need to change my priorities until after the stroke. And I kind of lost my mojo for certain things. I am an editor, and I worked on Fiverr quite a bit. I no longer want to work on Fiverr. It's just like, I don't know, it's too much work for not enough money. Fiverr doesn't support a very big payout for what I do. And so I'm off of Fiverr right now, and I'm rethinking what I'm going to do. But it's just, I don't know if you would call it a priority or just a focus. I've kind of realized the value of my worth as an editor. I'm very good. I do a good job, and I don't feel like the money I earned on Fiverr, which is basically a penny a word, it's not worth it. It's not worth it to me again. So I'm probably not going to go back on Fiverr unless I can bring in more money. But a few priorities have changed. I lost my mojo for a little while, but I feel like it's back. I'm doing the things around the house, all the things, and feeling good about it. So that's kind of my story of the stroke and my recovery. I cannot tell you enough how really, if you have had a stroke or you have a loved one who has had a stroke, stick with your physical therapy. Go to your speech therapist if they're any good, but use the girl I found on YouTube. If not, just stick at it. Day after day after day, I just kept at it and kept at it. I would say, even from a person who's had 8 babies, this was probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Just to get that back. I didn't like the fact that I couldn't talk right. I didn't like the fact that it was difficult to walk. So I just pushed and pushed and pushed myself to get back to what I called normal. And so it worked. I was back to normal, and the stroke, I take medicine to prevent it. They have seen me since. And one thing that they think caused the stroke was I had a lot of extra weight, and my blood pressure became unstable. And so because it became unstable, then it went too high and then it would go real low. Then it would go too high and then it would go too low. So since the stroke, I have actually lost 45 pounds. I did try to lose weight at first. I did not at all. I was just like so focused on getting better. I just didn't care about food. I will say in the hospital, it kind of started because they didn't feed me at all. I'm not kidding you. I went in around dinner time, and by 9 o'clock when they were transferring me to the hospital, this was the ER, the urgent care center, I was starving. I was like, oh my goodness, I need to eat something. So they found a soggy breakfast sandwich that they gave to me, and it was so terrible I couldn't eat it. So I thought, okay, I'll eat it when I get to the hospital. So I got to the hospital and I said, I really, really need something to eat. And they said, well, it's not mealtime. I said, I understand that, but it's 10 o'clock at night and I haven't had anything since noon. And so they found me a graham cracker. So that's all I had to eat. On Monday morning, they scheduled me for a whole bunch of tests. And so they came early and took me down. I had ordered breakfast. So they said, no problem, your breakfast will be here when you get back. So I was really excited about that because I was hungry and I couldn't wait to eat something. So I like breakfast. Here, I'm just telling you, I'm going to cut up some peppers to put into the freezer. They're getting old and I want to preserve them before they go bad. So I'm just dicing them up and putting them in a freezer bag. That's what I'm going to do here. Anyway, back to the weight loss thing. Well, when I got all my tests done on Monday morning, then I came back to my room and there was no food there. So I called the nurse and I said, where's my breakfast? She said, well, breakfast is over. I said, oh my, I missed the breakfast. She said, well, I'll try to find you something. So she found a little box of cereal and some milk, but no spoon and no bowl, nothing, just a little box of milk and a little box of cereal and some milk. And I thought, okay, could I please have a spoon at least? I can probably pour the milk into the box, that type of thing. So she was gone for a while and she came back and found me a spoon and a cup, just like a drinking cup that she wanted me to pour my cereal into. Well, by that time the milk was pretty warm and I have trouble with milk anyway. So it was really inedible to me. So I was really looking forward to lunch. Well, the doctor came in and said, not only did you have 2 different strokes, but you have a urinary tract infection. I said, oh, I didn't even know that. So he gave me some medicine for that. Well, that medicine made me extremely nauseated. It made me so nauseated that when they finally brought my lunch, I couldn't even eat. I couldn't eat the rest of the time I was in the hospital because I was so nauseated. They gave me anti-nausea medication, but it did not work. So the whole 3.5 days I was in the hospital, I barely ate anything at all. I just couldn't keep it down. When I would eat, I would get so very sick because of that medicine. So that kind of started the weight loss because I was no longer thinking about it. I guess my stomach shrunk down and I just didn't care about food that much. When I got home, cooking was very, very difficult. I did not cook in the beginning. One of my daughters ordered us some DoorDash food a couple of times and my sons did the cooking and they're very capable. They're in their 20s. So they did the cooking and cleaning up and so I could focus on getting better. But I just didn't have much of an appetite, so I just wasn't eating much and I didn't realize what that was doing to me because I was so focused on getting better. So a few weeks later, I was busy doing physical therapy and doing my exercises and getting better, and I just felt my progress was slow, but yet it was steady. Anyway, one day I put on what I thought was my favorite outfit, and it was just hanging on me. It was way too big. I thought, what on earth? This is crazy. This is, something's happened to make this bigger. So I figured, I'll get on the scale. Something's wrong here. I was already down 25 pounds, and I didn't even try. It was just from the result of having the stroke, just all this stuff I was doing, the physical therapy and stuff. So I just decided to keep it up, and I just did intermittent fasting. I did not deprive myself of any food group whatsoever, but I've done intermittent fasting for the past couple months, and I'm down another 20 pounds for a total of 45. So I feel great. I've had to buy new clothes because I needed a smaller size, and that feels really good. So basically, that's my story on the stroke, and I'm glad to be back. I don't know how much I'll be posting, but I've got to redo a closet. I'm getting a craft room because my sons have bought a house and moved out, so I'll be taking over my one son's room. So I'm going to take you along on those things, and I don't know how often I can post or how frequently, but I will be here, and this is my first coming back. So thank you all for your prayers. I have new subscribers since I left, and thank you for that. And I hope to be back on a regular basis. I know this video is about to end soon, so I'm winding up my voice time. Somehow I lost some footage, so it's going to cut to a picture of the cake after I take it out of the oven here in a minute, and then you'll get to see the finished cake. But we had a great birthday. He had a great birthday, and we had a great time celebrating. So I don't know why it's showing this footage again. I thought I had cut this out, but I don't know. Anyway, this got messed up a little bit. I'm actually getting used to some new footage, some new software, which is a little more difficult to use. So I think here real soon it's going to cut to the cake. So I wanted to make sure I said everything I wanted to say, because that'll be the final scene. But thank you so much for watching, and thank you for your support. And I hope you'll seek help if you have a loved one with a stroke, or if you've had a stroke, and just keep at it and keep getting better, because it will get better. It will improve. And it did with me, and I am pretty much back to my normal self. I'm doing all the cooking, all the cleaning, and basically, you know, back to being a full-time mom and doing what I've always done. So that's my story. Having a stroke is a very, very scary thing, and I hope it never happens to you. But if it does, there is hope. You can get better. Physical therapy was the key for me, and they were tremendous. They knew exactly what I needed at all times, and I so appreciated them. So we were very thankful. And they were just 2 miles from my house, so it was very easy for my husband to take me down there. I had to get clearance before I could drive, and I'm still not real comfortable on the highway, but I can do it if I need to. So that's really a good thing. So I was glad about that. But it took a while, and there's my cake. Bye. Thanks for watching.